Greetings, barbecue family. Welcome to another live episode of the Backyard SmokeMaster BBQ podcast. I'm your host, Kenyatta Robinson. For those of you tuning in live, thanks for hanging with us. We got off to a little bit of a late start, had to work out some technical difficulties, but I think we've got that all straightened out. And I know that we are going to have a fantastic show, a fantastic conversation. I have a very special guest joining me this evening, Captain Ron. I first became aware of Captain Ron a few years ago. I saw this guy with a whole lot of energy and passion in some videos that were for Fogo Charcoal, and I also knew him for mainly cooking on the big green egg. So I don't know if those are still his tools of choice, but I know that he's a fantastic guy, lots of barbecue experience, lots of stories and things like that. So we're going to get to know Ron and we're going to have a great conversation. And as always, I invite you all to come on in the comments and ask questions. But without further ado, let me bring on Captain Ron. Ron, thank you. How you doing?
And if I was any better, I'd be twins. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well. Again, appreciate you for coming on. And really what we do here is we just chop it up about barbecue. I mean, the folks that are watching live are really like barbecue enthusiasts.
Okay.
Yeah, they're just trying to level up their game, and we have a great community. Always invite folks to come on in the comments and ask questions on whatever it is. It could be the
Sure.
topic at hand or anything else that's on your mind related to barbecue. So we're gonna
I love
we're
it.
gonna get into that. And you know what?
Excellent.
I forgot to give you.
Stop.
Yeah. Oh, I got these sound effects, and
That's
then
funny.
I always forget to actually use them. So, yeah, I'm
Well,
gonna.
listen, I appreciate that one a lot. Thank you. It makes me feel good now.
Yeah, kind of like a good icebreaker. So, let
Exactly.
me let me start off though. But for folks who don't quite know your story yet, tell
Yes.
me. Let's start with the beginning. Like, how did you first get into barbecue?
Okay. Well, that's a great question. First, let me just start off. Thank you so much for having me, by the way. It's really an honor to be asked, and I appreciate it very much. My interest into barbecue, I've always enjoyed cooking. I worked in pizzerias through high school in New York, and I just always enjoyed the process. And they say at 35 years old, you either have to, as a man, you either have to choose World War II history or smoking meats. Okay, you have to do one or the other. So I went the smoking meats route. I got into it, and I always, like I said, I always enjoyed cooking, but I started to really love barbecue food. I started to really enjoy it a lot. So I got to try and save myself some money and learn how to do this myself. Oh yeah, yeah. But so I started. I just got myself a little, like, there's one of the bullet smokers.
Yeah.
And that's where I started. And it just kind of progressed from there. And then we went to I got a big green egg for my birthday one year, and my I started cooking on it. We went to an egg fest, and my daughter says, "Oh, you should start an Instagram. You can start an Instagram." I said, "That's right. You should start me an Instagram." So
Yeah.
she did, and we started posting pictures, and I don't know, things just sort of took off, and here we are today. It's just yep, it's real. I pinch myself every day because just an unbelievable path this has taken me on.
That's fantastic. Now, what was there a certain cook or moment that stood out that made you realize that barbecue was going to be more than a hobby for you?
Um, yeah, I think once I started figuring out like the intricacies and what you can do with it all, it's more than just cooking a burger, a steak, or some. You can do anything. I mean, you can really do anything. And I like to use smoke as an ingredient. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Instead of salt, just like salt's an ingredient, pepper's an ingredient. I like smoke as an ingredient. So once I started really trying to figure out the nuances of how to do things correctly, it really kind of changed it for me. I wouldn't say there was one particular moment, but that egg fest that we went to took me from I like to do this too. I am just hooked. Reel me in, baby, because you got me, and that's really where it really all developed. I say that first egg fest that I cooked in, that was at Wassey's Meats in Melbourne, Florida, and boy, it was a game changer for sure.
Okay, okay. Now, like I said, you first came into my view. Again, I saw you. It was like a video, a couple of videos, because
Okay.
I started getting them in my email from Fogo.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and I always saw you cooking on the big green egg. So tell me, how did that connection come about?
That's a great question, and it's really kind of an interesting one because it's multifaceted in a way. So Fogo is about an hour south of where I live. They're down in Miami, in Hialeah, Miami, and I live just north of Fort Lauderdale. So a couple times, Sebastian, the owner, he said, "Hey, how'd you like to come and be at the end of my videos with me? We'll taste the food together and we'll talk about it." Sure, So we did that, but then this big thing happened in this country called COVID.
Yeah,
And all of a sudden, everybody was locked inside. Well, when you're locked inside, there wasn't a lot to do, so people started cooking outdoors. And Sebastian didn't have time. He was making all the YouTube videos himself, and he didn't have time anymore. So he called me up one day and he says, "Listen, I am so in the weeds with work, and I don't have time to shoot videos. How'd you like to come down and make a couple videos for us?" Sure, So they sent their camera guy up, and then we made a couple videos. He liked them. I enjoyed doing it. He was just getting busier because, like I said, COVID was really just kicking off, and everything barbecue and grilling went through the roof. So he didn't have the time. So then after a couple videos, he said, "Hey, listen, why don't you come on full time and make videos for us?" So yeah, here I am. My previous job, I was on an airplane 2 to 3 times a week, and when COVID hit, obviously, I couldn't do that, so there I was, middle-aged, no job,
mm,
kids and everything, and, this fell into my lap, and talk about a game changer, I mean, it literally changed the path of my life, because now barbecue is my full-time career. I'm not with Fogo anymore, but, I'll be eternally grateful for them, for the opportunities that they gave me, and the experience that allowed me to have. So it really, the pandemic worked out so poorly for so many, worked out great for me. I don't
yeah.
know. you know.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, definitely the pandemic kind of threw us all into, new, unfamiliar, uncharted,
oh yeah.
territory. And for a
Mhm.
lot of folks, it caused an unexpected pivot, hopefully, for the better. So that
Yeah,
sounds like that's what happened for you.
it really did. Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
But it's another one of those things that, like, what? That happened. So sorry.
oh no, no, no. So, as you delve further into barbecue and kind of
Mhm.
realizing that this is now going to be like a career for you, were there any early influencers or teachers, that helped you, get
Oh
better
yeah.
at barbecue, either in person or online?
Most definitely, and you're talking a little bit earlier about the barbecue community, and that's what I love is the barbecue community. So for me to hook out one or two people would be really difficult for me to do. But Chris Sussman, the barbecue Buddha, was instrumental. I came into a big green egg team, and he really guided me and helped me with that a lot. Ray Lampy, Dr. Barbecue, Mel, Dark Side of the Grill. He and I kind of started this Instagram thing around the same time, and we've kind of worked together a lot. There's so many people that have been really super helpful along the way, and that's I think that's really what I love about the community is that a lot of these people have a genuine willingness to help you and help you do better and succeed. So it's really pretty nice. But yeah, those are some of my really bigger influences. A guy named Chris Grove, Nibble Me This. He's not really into it too much anymore, but very instrumental too. He taught me a lot. So it's been nice to have some good mentors, and that's what I try and do now. Is I try to do what people did for me. Is they help me out. So that's why I enjoy the YouTube so much. I like to help other people. So when I get somebody who tells me, "Hey, this was great. I learned this from you. I was going to get rid of my egg, and now we cook on it every Sunday." That's the best thing in the world. So the way that people mentored me and helped me, that's now kind of what I try and do as well.
That's great. That's fantastic. Now, do you have, a lot of barbecue influencers, come from the competition world? Do you have any
Mhm.
competition experience?
No, we've done since then. I've done a lot of Big Green Egg Fests. I'm going to put a little feather in my cap here. We won the Visit Fort Lauderdale Food and Wine Festival barbecue event last year, and they had competitors from all over the country come in for that one. So that was a pretty big one for me. But but true competition, like go turn in brisket, go turn in ribs, go turn in pork. I basically cooked one competition like that. It was strange enough. I got invited to cook on this team, and it was a kosher barbecue. It was a KCBS event. It was a kosher barbecue event, and we went and they put me in. They said, "Okay, you're in charge of turkey legs. Turkey legs was one of the things." So I said, "Okay,"
Yeah.
So I did my thing to him. I made him down into turkey leg lollipops, and actually, I'm sorry, it was turkey wings. But anyway, I cut the drum part of it, and we got first place. So I said, you know what? I'm never entering another competition again. Where do you go from there? So it's not my forte. I like to. This is going to probably not go over well, but I like to put out really good tasting food. And to me, some of the competition barbecue food isn't necessarily about the best tasting food.
Yeah.
You're cooking to the judges. It's extremely difficult. It takes a lot of talent. I would never for a second try and take that away from anybody. But it's to me, it's not the best tasting food out there. I can go to a lot of barbecue restaurants or backyards and have something I'm going to enjoy putting in, tasting much more than that, really. But yeah, the competition thing, I'll leave that for the professionals, pretty
No,
much.
no, I completely agree. Before the pandemic, I had gotten myself certified as a KCBS judge. So
Mhm.
I never competed, but I did judge at a few contests. And then,
Right.
just as you said, the type of food that's being prepared at these competitions, it started to get really old,
Yeah.
really tired. And I know
Yep.
people think that, oh, that it's it's the contest, and they have to be making this fantastic barbecue, and I just kind of found it to be more of a very stylized barbecue, but not necessarily
Exactly.
the best.
Exactly. I mean, it's like anything else. Like you said, you're cooking to a judge's orders. This is what I want to see, and this is how it has to be. And then that's the way it is. Again, I don't knock. I have a lot of friends in the competition world, even local friends here that are doing very well, and they enjoy it. But it's an expensive hobby these days, for one thing.
Yes.
And it's very time consuming as well. So my old job, like I said, kept me away from home a lot. Now I get to be home all the time. I don't miss any more. I mean, my kids are older now, but I missed a lot of school plays and soccer games and things like that. So
Yeah.
I'd rather be home now for that kind of stuff.
No, that's great. And you mentioned that you're no longer affiliated with Fogo, and I know that you've launched a new YouTube channel, Captain
Yes,
Ron
sir.
Cooks. And let me get that up on the
There
screen.
it
Hold
is.
on, let me get you on the screen as well. There we go. This is
All
live,
right.
folks, so bear with us. So tell me about your new channel. Like what's the goal? What are you trying to inspire with it?
But so I originally started. I think I started this in like 2019 or something like that. And it was funny because my daughter was in high school and her boyfriend at the time, they're like 14, 15. There, he was taking a lot of audio visual classes. So he said, "Hey, let's make some videos." We started making. What I wish I would have continued making videos back then because I would have been like one of the first barbecue YouTube channels. But I didn't. And so now what I'm trying to do is I want to take what I built with Fogo and kind of build upon that. I want to continue the educational process. I want people to know how to use their big green egg. But it's more than just big. It's going to be more than just big green egg. I've started to put some videos out, and I am a big green egg guy. I really am. That's how I got into this. That's how I found my love for barbecue was through the big green egg. And there's nothing better to me than somebody. I'll meet somebody at an event, and they'll say, "Man, Captain Ron." First of all, they'll say, "Oh, I watch all your videos." Say, "Oh, so you're the one that watches them? Thank you."
Mhm.
But it's fun because I've heard so many times. I had my egg and I couldn't figure it out, and I was burning my food and it was terrible. And my wife hated it, so I was ready to get rid of it. I watched some of your videos, and now my kids want to come over every Sunday and have dinner with us. I mean, what better payoff is there than that?
Yes.
We took somebody who was frustrated with something, taught him how to use it. Now his family gets together for meals because of something that I helped inspire. Man, I mean, look, it raises the hair on my arms because there's more than just monetary in this. There's more than just product. Like that. That gives me a certain satisfaction. When I can know that I helped somebody selflessly and that they got some good. I'm helping bring families together. We're not carrying world peace here, but for somebody to tell me that, and I hear it quite often. So that's really the payoff for me. That's what I love about it is I love getting that feedback. So that's what I'm looking to do with this YouTube is continue along those lines, help people learn the big green egg, help people maybe think of cooking things that they've never would have cooked on it before. So that's really what I want to do with my YouTube is inspire, I guess, is really probably the number one word I would have to say comes up.
All right. All right, guys, we are talking with Captain Ron. He has launched a new YouTube channel. Looks like it's got like look over 200 videos. So I'm thinking maybe you pulled in some of the stuff that you've done previously.
No,
But
I've been putting
no?
some shorts on there. The shorts
Okay.
count towards videos too. I don't have a lot of feature length videos. Right now I'm on a little bit I'm not gonna say a hiatus, but I'm building up a block of them so that I don't have the pressure on it, so I can have some in the bank to do and have to put out. So
Got
we're
it.
actually that's when we was getting ready to come on here. That's who showed up. Some people that are here to film with me tomorrow. So it's it was just
Oh wow,
like
exciting.
terrible timing. Yeah. So
All right. Well, no, that's
yeah.
that's awesome. Um, so we do have a question here. Let me see if I can have my comments. Okay, there we go. Nope, not that one. This one. Okay, this one. Captain Ron, what size do you favor for the big green egg?
Great question. Great question. So, I started with a large, and I still have my original large. I have a couple of them now, as a matter of fact. I like the large. I'm a big fan of the extra large, the XL. And the first thing people say, oh, well, it uses so much more fuel. It doesn't. We did a video on it, and we burned it for like 5 hours, and it literally burned no more fuel than the large. I think after five, I think it was 5 hours we did it for. It was like a 4 ounce difference once we cooled the coals down and weighed them. So they burn about the same thing, but I'm a big fan that you can have too little real estate on your grill, but you can't have too much,
That's right.
So I can cook you a hot dog on that XL, or I can cook you two briskets on that XL, So it to me, that's the most universal, and I think for me, that's the one that I like the most. It's probably because I've used it the most to film videos with too, though. So, but the Mini Max is also very handy. I like the Mini Max a lot as well.
No, I'm not familiar with that one. Tell me about that.
So that's the smaller. They say it's kind of
Okay.
portable. I think it weighs 75 pounds. I'm not getting younger. It's not as portable as it used to be, but it's a smaller one. I think it's got a 14-inch grid on it, and I've done everything from smoke a pork butt on it to cook hot dogs. But it's pretty cool. A lot of times it's just myself cooking for myself and my girlfriend, and that thing works great for me. I don't have to light the whole big thing up. So the Mini Max is kind of nice, and it is portable. We can throw it in the back of the truck and take it with us wherever we're going. So it's kind of fun.
So in addition to the big green egg, do you
Mhm.
have, other types of grills, smokers that you're going to be featuring on your channel?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, I think right now in the backyard, I think I've got 28 or 29 different grills and smokers
Wow,
back there.
okay.
Everything from Weber kettles. I have the one I really like. I have a big, huge Tagwood Santa Maria. It's got the rack on it for live animal for whole not live animals but for whole animals, and it's got the grate that goes up and down. That one I like a lot. We've got griddles. I'll be doing some griddle things like here. We've got all kind of. I just got a new one called an Octa Grills, which is like it's got three different big rotisseries up top and 12 skewers across the front that spin like almost like in a Brazilian steakhouse restaurant. So
Yeah.
we're gonna be doing a lot of different things on this channel for sure. And we're gonna put all of these grills to use back there. Listen, I want everybody to know. You know, I'll never call myself a pitmaster. I just won't do it. But I want to know how to cook on everything. And I think a lot of other people like me too. They go to their buddy's house and they see they've got a Weber Smoky Mountain. I want to know how to cook on that. I want to know how to cook on the open fire pit. So that's what I want to do. Is I'm learning. I want to pass that knowledge along and help other people learn as well. So yeah, I like having a variety of grills.
All right. You're a man after my own heart. I kind of have the same viewpoint. Even when
Hmm.
I kind of unintentionally started my channel, I didn't feel comfortable calling myself a pit master, so I kind of
Right.
played with the words and changed it to smoke master. And I don't have as many grills and smokers as you do, but I'm getting close to the 20,
Well,
20
yeah.
number. And just like you, just you see a different cooker, a different style of cooker, and you get excited about it, and you want to try it out and learn how to make some good food with it. That's
Sure.
that's what it's
Sure.
all about.
I, I'll tell you what I've been experimenting with and I like a lot is the barrel smokers. Like if I would cook on
Yes.
a cotton gin smoker, I love these barrel smokers, man. Uh, I'm not a big fan of chicken quarters, but for some reason I hang chicken quarters in that barrel, and It is the damn tastiest bite in barbecue that there is. It is so good.
Now,
I don't know what it is, but man.
yeah. No, I agree. I think the drum smokers. I have a couple of Hunsakers.
Mhm.
Um, I think they're just natural, chicken machines. They do a
Absolutely.
fantastic job with the chickens. Now, do you prefer to hang your chickens like those quarters, or do you just lay them on the
No,
grill
I absolutely
on the
hang them
grill?
in there. Yeah, that's what I like the barrel for, really, is for hanging. The
Yeah.
drum smokers is for hanging, even the ribs too. So explain this to me, okay? You hang a rack of ribs in there and the fire's at the bottom, right? So your ribs are hanging here and the fire's here. How is this part of the ribs not more done than this part of the ribs? I don't get it. They cook evenly. I guess because it's like a
Right.
vortex that happens in there, but to me, it's like the bottom part should be burnt to heck, and it's just not. It's great.
No, you're
So
right.
funny.
You're right. Yeah, I I don't know. I don't know the answer to that because yeah, because logically, I always, at least when I first started cooking on my drum, I would think that yeah, the part that's at the bottom that's hanging, because it's closer to the fire, I'd be all concerned, that it's going to end
Yeah.
up getting singed, But you're right. Yeah, no, it works out great. Okay, we have a comment here. Let's see. Captain Ryan has the best. Oh, has the Jeet Kune Do vibe. Okay, this is some karate talk. I'm not up on
Bruce
the
Lee.
Bruce Lee stuff, but maybe I
I
think you are. But this is
think that was a compliment. I think I can't
yeah,
read it very
a
well, but
tip of
yeah.
the cap to you.
So yeah, we try and keep it fun. We try and keep it simple and lighthearted. I'm known for stupid dad jokes and humor. And I may not be everybody's cup of tea, but we try and keep it just on the positive note here. It's just there's so much other stuff going in the world. That I think barbecue is a really good place to keep some positivity and keep it upbeat and just kind of just go with the flow kind of vibe. That's how we try and keep it around here. And
Yeah.
luckily, my family is the same way, so that's good.
So, kind of speaking of, kind of going with the vibe. So, what's your
Mhm.
barbecue philosophy? Like, what do you think too many people overcomplicate?
Everything.
Yeah.
I think people overcomplicate everything. And here's a great example is that, my first bunch of egg fests that we cook in, I go in and I'll make these sliders and it's stuffed with this and has 42 ingredients and this, that, and it's a giant mess to put together and a hassle and like that. And we would get fifth place, sixth place, and I don't understand. We're putting out some really. I started doing caveman searing. Okay, I would
Mm.
roast an entire tomahawk. I roast an entire New York strip roast, coat it up with fogo rub, smoke the whole thing, and then throughout the day just cut a steak off and caveman sear it. And I was literally just slices of steak right off the cutting board. Here you go. Started winning egg fest after egg fest after egg fest. Simplicity. It does not have to be overcomplicated. Everybody wants to use 75 different ingredients, And a lot of these influencers that you see out there now, oh, I coated my steak in sugar for 6 months and then cooked it in caramel sauce. That's entertainment. That's not
Yeah.
cooking anymore. And I don't knock it. Hey, listen, man, there's a lot of people making a lot of money and having a very good living and having fun at it. Good for them. That's great. Um, I could probably go that route. I really choose to stay with the inspirational route. I'm sure it costs me a lot of money. It costs me a lot of followers, but I've seen some of these people that do it that I've kind of come up in the same social media circles with, and now they have 300,000 followers, and I'm still at 45,000 followers. But I know this: those 45,000 people said, "I want to follow Captain Ron. Let me hit this button right here and follow him." You know what I mean? So there's a lot of value in that. I mean, I take a lot of pride in what we do here, and not only do we have fun, but we do want to keep it on a positive note. So yeah.
Absolutely. So, in addition to, overcomplicating things, so what are
Mhm.
the mistakes that you see beginners making all the time?
Oh, I bought a pork loin and it says to cook it for 120 minutes.
Mm.
No, no. Cook to temperature, not to time. It's the biggest thing that I preach. It's the biggest thing. It's when my cooking changed. Oh, cook this beef roast. Here's a prime rib roast. Cook it at 250 degrees for an hour and a half. No, I can't do that. And once I started using a good digital thermometer, cook the temperature, not time, and get yourself a good instant read digital thermometer. Those are the two things that I think are the absolute biggest things that I can help somebody with Do those two things, and your cooking will improve. There's no doubt about it. You know.
Yes. Couldn't agree more. The guys that tune into this podcast, they probably hear me say it, at least every other show. I think the first accessory, the one must have that you should get is a good instant read thermometer, and they're cheap.
Hmm. Yep,
So there's
absolutely.
no reason not to.
Sure, sure, sure. I've had a bunch of different ones. I always tend to seem to go back to the same one, but there's so many out there now, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. People say, "Oh, cook a steak, and you can do it by this. Feel this part of your hand, feel this part of your hand, this part." I don't know. I've cooked some very expensive steaks.
Me too.
Tina Cannon came down, and somebody gave us an Australian, gave us a Japanese A5 Wagyu ribeye. That was about that thing. It's like $800 wholesale steak. I'm using my best digital
Yes.
thermometer I can to cook that steak because I'm not getting a chance going, "Oh yeah, it feels like it's medium rare." No, I don't trust myself, okay? I
That's
want to
right.
know that it's right. And let me tell you, my steaks rarely come out wrong anymore. So there's a lot to be said for that. Swallow your pride, get a thermometer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No reason not to.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah,
you
yeah.
cook with a lot of passion. So where does that drive come from?
You know, I have this thing in me that I just like my name at the top of the page. You know what I mean by that? If I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it right. Like I grew up in New York. Okay, I was a water skier up there. You get to water ski 3 months of the year. Well, I grew up with all these families, and we would go water skiing up in this lake in Vermont. But I had to can just take it as a hobby anymore. I had to go into competition water skiing. I had to be the best. I moved to Florida because I got a job working for the world champion barefoot water skier. I just always had that passion in me to whatever I'm doing, I'm going to apply myself. Anything worth doing is worth doing right. So I've always been an all-in kind of person to a fault, really. So and the same thing happened with barbecue. People get a big green egg. Some people get a second one. Have 9 of them. Like, why, But it's just one of those things that I'm very passionate about what I do. I like to excel at what I do, and thankfully, the barbecue world has been very receptive to me. I've made friends with people that I hoped that someday I would get to shake their hand, and now we call each other and bounce ideas off each other.
Right.
It's astounding to me, it really is.
Now, do you have a go-to style when you season or prep your meat?
But not really. When you say that, what do you mean as far as that? You mean like do I dry brine my meats, things like that? So my steak, I'm going to take it out an hour and a half before I'm going to cook it. I'm going to season it, let it sit on the counter like that on a rack,
Yeah.
something like that. But other than that, I don't have too much really style or thing like that to go with. I like to, there's certain things that if you just do, your food is going to be better. If you take your steak out an hour or two before you're going to cook it, season it, and let it sit. A lot of people don't know why you do that. The reason is because all those juices inside that meat are going to rise up out of that meat, and you're going to all pool on top of that steak. Well, that's not good. I don't want that. But what it does is that absorbs some of the seasonings that you put on steak, and now that's pulling it right back down in. So you'll notice if you take that steak out, salt it really good. I mean, cover it in kosher salt. All of a sudden you look at it 20 minutes later, it looks like this white paste on top of there. Well, that draws that moisture back down into the steak as it's sitting there, and now you're seasoning the inside of the meat as well. And as it's sitting there, it's coming more towards room temperature, so it's going to cook more evenly. You don't have an 80-degree outside and a 30-degree inside anymore. Now the steak is going to be a little bit more um, even temperature, so it's going to cook more evenly. So just little things like that to follow. That's the important stuff to me, really. Mhm.
All right. Guys, we're talking with Captain Ron. He has a new YouTube channel called Captain Ron Cooks. So that's easy to
Mhm.
find. You go to YouTube, just put that in the search and it'll pop right up. This man
Yes.
knows his barbecue. So please jump
And
in the comments, take
uh,
advantage, ask a
I was going to say,
question.
and please, if you're listening, please go on there and subscribe. Okay.
Yes.
I'm not above begging. Okay. uh,
I completely understand.
yeah.
Um,
It's tough,
so
when you go from on a channel that has, 90,000 subscribers, and you put out a video in the first couple hours that's 1,500, 2,000 views. And all of a sudden now you put out your video, and then in the first 2 hours it's got 80 views. You're like, what am I doing
yeah,
wrong? Oh, well, I'm just starting out. That's right. So, but it's still, it's a fun process. It really is, but the one thing about it is that a lot of people, like my friends and things, and some of my family, don't understand. Like, oh, you got it so good. What do you work like? You just like cook a little something and take some pictures. I'm like, man, I work more than you do. You know what I mean? This is a full time job. You don't get to do this by taking in a half hour a day and taking a picture and putting it on Instagram. That doesn't work. I'm sorry, it doesn't. It's work. There's planning. There's a lot more behind the scenes than people know, as you well know.
Yes.
So
I certainly do. Yeah, I left my corporate job that I had for over 20 years. I had been kind of just doing the YouTube stuff, like as
mhm.
a hobby, but after that, earlier this year, yeah, I'm all in now, on
Yeah.
barbecue
Yeah,
all the way.
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
totally understand. Yeah, it is absolutely, work.
Sure. And the thing about it, especially with different social media, is that it's
Yes.
constantly evolving and changing. I don't know if it's evolving, it's constantly changing. What works today doesn't work tomorrow. And they don't tell you, okay, we're going to make this change and that change. You sort of have to figure it out and rely on others. And, then you have to have to me, anyway, for me, I have to have a tight knit community of people and influencers and friends that are willing to share some information. Hey, I did this and it's working. I already did that and it's working. I think it's a really good, important thing to do is to share that knowledge with each other. If I know something,
Absolutely.
I promise you, I'm going to tell you something. If I think it can help you, I'm going to tell you. So I think it's really important to develop some relationships that people are wondering. I know you didn't ask this, but a lot of people ask me, how do I build my social media? How do I build my social media? First of all, it's called social media. Be social on social media. Don't just put your stuff out there and then answer any questions or comments. Go on other people's pages, like their stuff, comment this, and be genuine. Be yourself. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I know that. I make stupid jokes. I go off, whatever. That's okay. But I'm me. I'm unapologetically me. Whether you like that, if you like Paul over there, he don't like me right
Mhm.
now. But it's one of those things that it takes work, but just be unapologetically yourself. If you think, oh, I don't want to be silly, be silly. People love silly. People, make people smile, make them laugh. They're gonna keep coming back.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Um, yeah, I agree. Share the knowledge. Don't gatekeep. And yeah, like you said, be social. Be social on social media, which is something
Yeah,
I had to really get used to. But now
yeah,
it's becoming more natural. I mean, that's how I connected with you. Just saw you over
yeah.
there on a platform, sent you a note, and asked if you wanted to come on the show. But it's exactly
Absolutely.
that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is an honor to be asked, and I do appreciate it very much. And it's important to, like I tend to stick a lot to Instagram, but
Mhm.
I should be building my TikTok. TikTok is where a lot of things are happening now. Um, but you can only do so much.
Right.
You can only do so much. I'm one person. You're one. It takes a lot to do this stuff. And it's very time consuming. But to be social on social media, you got to be on there commenting and things like that. And this stuff takes time. It really does. So, and I don't know about you, but I go through phases where "Man, I'm so into this. I can't wait to wake up and get on Instagram." And then have other times I'm just like, "Oh my God, I gotta wake up and go post, edit."
Right.
It can be rather tough to stay motivated sometimes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm.
So now getting back more into the barbecue side of it. So,
Sure.
is there anything, anything that really stands out related to barbecue that you changed your mind about over the years?
Um, that's a pretty darn good question, actually. One of the things is my willingness to try different things. I can tell you that. Like somebody gave me a cow's tongue one time, and that thing stayed in
Ooh,
my freezer because I'm not doing that. There's no way. There's no way. Well, I got news for you. We cooked it finally. It was delicious. It was really good. So I think maybe trying some different things or things that maybe I might not have wanted to try before. I've really opened my eyes to it, and it's kind of funny because even some of the foods that I didn't care for in the past, now I actually like, so it's I think continuing to try different things and evolve and taste something that you haven't had before is something like that for me anyway.
Now let me go back. Okay, and you mentioned the tongue. Um,
Mhm.
maybe did I? So was it? This is beef. Was it
Yeah,
beef?
yeah, it was
Okay,
a beef
and
tongue.
I
Yeah.
do see tongue all the time at my
Mhm.
local Sam's Club,
Yeah.
and just like I'm just like, okay, no, I'm not here for that. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
tell me,
yeah, yeah.
um, does it taste like, does it just
It
taste
ta
like beef, or does it have a
It tasted really
unique?
beefy. Yeah, it
Yeah.
did have a beefy flavor to it. There was a process. If I remember correctly, I think we boiled it and we peeled the outer layer off of it and then smoked it. And but yeah, it was definitely different. I mean, it doesn't taste like a ribeye. It's got a little different flavor than that, but it's got that beefy flavor to it. It's all the. I think all different parts of the animals are going to have a similar sort of flavor to it. Like this might gross some people out, but whenever we do a whole pig, my kids have a race to see which one's going to eat the eyeball first.
Oh
They all want to
wow.
eat that. Oh, it's so gross! It's so gross. It tastes like pork. It tastes like
Really?
pork. If you can get past it, put it in your mouth, then yeah. But it tastes like pork. It really does. It's kind of strange. Weird kids. I'm sorry.
Oh my. Yeah, no,
Uh,
I would never think to even to try that. That's interesting. All
the
right.
first time was on a dare. The first time was
Yeah.
absolutely on a dare. Someone said, want to do that? What are you gonna? I said, I'll try it. What the heck? So I did it, and my kids were like, no, no. The next one, my son said, I want to try it. I want to try it. So
Right.
it was kind of fun.
Okay, we got a
Whoever.
question here from Mitchell. Weber Kettle or Smoky Mountain this spring,
Well,
or both?
again, depends what you want to do.
Yeah.
The nice part about the kettle is that you can do anything you want. I think he's probably saying which would you prefer. I guess that's kind of the question. Nice part about the kettle is you can smoke on it, you can grill on it, you can do a lot of different things on it. Smoky Mountain's gonna cook fairly similar to a big green egg. It's not made of ceramic, but it's got a nice insulated metal outside, and it's going to perform very similar to like a combination between a big green egg and a barrel smoker, really. It's great. I just got one this year, so it's a great cooker, that's for sure.
But you just got the Smoky Mountain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Um, okay, we got another question. Captain Ron, how do you cook salmon on the green egg?
So there's a couple different ways. What I like to do is I like to cook it direct on a cedar plank. Okay, I
Mhm.
take a cedar plank, soak it for a couple hours. I take a cookie sheet and fill it with water and put the cedar planks in there. Get a sort of medium hot fire going. Char one side of the cedar plank and then flip it over, and then put your salmon on there. What you're doing there is you're imparting the charred wood flavor from it, and you're getting a smokier flavor out of there too, but you're gonna get a nice crispy skin too. So it really works. That's a pretty nice way to do it. I also cook salmon direct. I don't cook a lot of salmon, but I've cooked it for a couple different food and wine festivals and egg fests that I've done, and I've actually cooked it direct. I like to season it up with a not a strong seasoning. I use a little herbaceous seasoning. Big Green Egg actually has one called dill. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's dill based, and
Mhm.
it's really delicious. I just put a little coat of oil on there, sprinkle it on there. I'll put maybe one or two smoking blocks in there. Nothing gravy. I don't want heavy smoke on my salmon. I just want that kiss of smoke. Again, I use smoke as an ingredient, and that's a great way to do it. That way I do it indirect. Do it about 250 till cook that till about I think I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think it was cooked about 135 or 140,
Mhm.
then pull it off and rest it. Oh, mwah. I actually make a grilled bruschetta that I put on top of the salmon too. That's really good. So it's a nice combination.
Okay.
And you
Um,
can find that video on the Fogo Charcoal YouTube channel. Even though I'm not on there, even though I'm not making new videos there, well, my videos are still there. So, you can check
right.
that one out.
Okay.
Shameless plug. Shameless plug, I knew.
No, no, absolutely. I mean, you're just sharing information, so
Yes, sir.
no
Yeah.
problem at
One
all.
of the things that I think one of the things that people don't realize, and you probably have the same thing, is that when you make a YouTube video, a lot of people don't realize that in the description, a lot of times we'll put links to recipes or links to some of the products that we're using. And people I don't think know to look there really, but there is a description for all these videos, and a lot of times. I'll put my recipe, a link to a recipe or the recipe right in the description itself too, just to, because you watch a video, it might be hard to get all the ingredients and things like that, but there was usually a recipe in there too. So
Right. Um, so what tools do you often see people using that you hate seeing people rely on too much?
I'm just not a big fan. I'm probably going to get in trouble with one of my sponsors here, but I'm not a big fan of the controllers, like a fan
Oh
controller
yeah.
for listen. I think when you're new, especially with something like an egg, before you're figuring out your vent settings. But I also think it makes it so that you don't have to figure out your vent settings. You know what I mean? For me, I think you asked a question earlier, probably a better answer I could have given. For me, what I love the process of barbecue. I love the fire management. I love the vent management. I want to make sure that I'm cooking at 250, not 265. I love that process. I really do. And I think that what these controllers, temperature controllers do, they take a lot of the skill away. You know, um, and listen, I'm not going to knock pellet grills because a lot of
Yeah.
people get into this hobby through pellet grills. Okay, I don't own one. I never have, but if you're going to use a smoker with a controller, you might as well go get a pellet grill. Really, in my view. And again, it's not a knock. Some people like to have the confidence to use it. I mean, I have had a cook go out in the middle of the night, but I'll get my egg going at 250 degrees, put my brisket on, and go to bed, and I'll get up in the morning and wrap it like that. I don't worry about it because my egg's still burning at 250. Once that you learn the process and learn how to control the vents and how to control the airflow, whatever cookie you're cooking on, whether it's a Weber kettle, whether it's a big green egg, whether it's a Kamado Joe, whether it's whatever it is, an offset, or a big trailer, reverse flow. Once that you learn that process, then you're in, but by using these controllers and things, you're kind of robbing yourself, in my opinion, for me anyway, it would be robbing myself of learning that skill of how to properly do this.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Um, yeah, I mean, basically, yeah, they basically take your charcoal-based cooker and yeah, turn it into, akin to a pellet grill. Um,
Sure.
when I got my first offset smoker, um, one of the things that attracted me was that it had the ability, to add one of those the controller with the fan and
Yep.
everything. And I
Hmm.
did that. I tried it, which was, a complete, wrong step to make on an offset smoker.
Yeah.
Eventually I did learn, it's not helping me in the slightest. These wood splits are
Right.
going to burn the way they burn. I don't need this fan and all these contraptions.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
do it old fashioned, the way it was designed to be built. So no, couldn't
Yeah.
agree with you more.
And the nice part is that they all work the same basic way. There's an intake vent and
That's right.
there's a chimney, to let the air out. It's just a matter of getting those two settings correct to where you need it to be. So I think there's a time and place for them. Okay, you were talking about competitions earlier. I can see people using it in a competition because if you want to cook at 225 period and don't want any fluctuations from that in a competition, listen, you're spending a lot of money out there. You've got travel, you've got entry fees, you've got all kinds of.
Yeah.
I would want to make sure that I'm burning at 225, not 227. You know what I mean? So I do think everything has a time and a place. For me, and again, I can only speak for myself, but for me, I think that backyard cooking, I'm not a big fan of that. So I'm not a big fan of the fan.
No, on the I'm just that made me wonder on the competition circuit. I don't know if you witnessed many, but did you see that often? People competing using those
Yeah, I've seen
controllers?
I've seen it on I've seen it on some of the drum smokers. I see it, things
Hmm.
like that. I do see it because I guess that's what it is. They want to make sure that they're cooking
Yeah.
right at their temperature they need to be at.
Hmm. Almost
One of the
seems.
things I think is amusing is that on a shorter cook. Okay, Thanksgiving just passed. Every Thanksgiving, Flame Boss and Big Green Egg, their whole server goes down and people can't cook their turkeys. I'm like, it's a 2 or 3 hour cook, guys. Come on. You need a temperature controller for 2 or 3 hours. And then the other thing is, I get this question a lot. Hey, Ron, Thanksgiving's gonna come up. I'm gonna cook my first turkey on the egg for Thanksgiving. What should I do? I said, you shouldn't. You should do the first one 2 weeks before
That's
Thanksgiving and
right.
get a little practice in. Don't do it for the first time on the holiday. It's a surefire way to have a crappy holiday,
That's
man.
right. Yeah. Why put all that pressure on yourself? Get your practice
Yeah,
in.
exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So here's one that we argue about sometimes. Do you place your wood chunks over or under your charcoal?
I have an internal argument with myself about this. I switch it off. Honestly, I switch it off sometimes. I think really I'm going to start going more towards the in the charcoal and under the charcoal. I'm also switching the way that I light my grill a lot. I will light the egg now. So I talk about eggs a lot because that's what I cook most on.
Sure.
But a lot of people pour the charcoal in and then light the fire on top, right?
Right.
Well, the first thing that the fire does is it burns straight down.
Hmm.
Okay, if you ever watch your egg, the way it burns. Why? Because the oxygen is coming in from the bottom. So what I do now is I light my fire at the bottom, get it going a little bit, get some charcoal, and then I pour my charcoal on top of that because now my oxygen is getting directly to my fire.
Hmm.
So I think it's the same type of thing with the wood chunks. Is that if you put it in there, you're getting more of a spaced out type of thing. Now, after the first 2 3 hours, your food's not really going to absorb much more smoke anyway. But you want to put it where it's going to get that smoke good. But I think in the charcoals is actually a good way to do it, especially because if you're lighting it from the top and it's going to burn down, you put your wood chunks, halfway. All of a sudden, after a half hour, it's going to start getting that nice smoke on there too. So, I think there's probably an argument that could be said for both ways if you want to put it above or below. But I've been starting to really light my fires on the bottom, so I'm putting my wood chunks more towards the bottom now too. Yeah, same thing.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that, but I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it.
Well, it kind of came to me one day. We were talking about exactly what we were talking about was vent settings and things like that. And they're like, well, because then the air has to get in that bottom vent, then has to fight its way up through all that charcoal to get to the fire. I'm like, wait a second here. Am I missing the boat here? Why wouldn't I want the oxygen getting directly to the fire? So I applied the only thing I ever learned in science class, and, and oxygen is going to get to the fire quicker. And I don't know. To me, it seems to work pretty well. It really does. And if the charcoal is just going to burn straight down to the charcoal grade anyway, that's where the fire wants to be. So why not light the fire where it
Yeah.
wants to be anyway? So and heat
Okay.
rises. So I think that the hot air, going up would go up through the coals even easier than the cooler air coming in. So just doesn't mean I'm right, but science has something to do with it, I guess, right?
Yeah. Now, what would you buy today if you were starting from scratch in terms of like a grill or a smoker?
I would still absolutely 1,000% stick with my big green egg.
Hmm.
I tell you, I love it. I can I tell everybody, I said, if you can cook it in your stove, if you can cook it in your oven, cook it on a gas, whatever you can cook something in, I will cook it on my egg. And really, I've been challenged quite a few times. Oh yeah, let's see you make this. Wow, you did pretty good. So I think for me, it's the best all around cooker that there is. I bleed green. I really do. I'm part of their ambassador team. I know, but there's a reason for it. Is because I constantly posted how much I love cooking on it, and they finally reached out to me. So that's what I would do. I would do that. Weber kettle would be another great one. It's so versatile. It's so much you can do with it. You can smoke in it. You can grill on it. You can do anything on those things too. That's a great grill. It's a great grill. One nice thing about the big green egg, you buy it once. It's got a lifetime warranty. You buy. It's the last grill you ever need to buy, except that you'll wind up buying seven of them like I did.
So okay, so yeah, I knew the connection with Big Green Egg, and like I said, most of the videos I saw you, you know, I think probably all of them that I saw you, and you were cooking on the Big Green Egg. So I have to
Mhm.
ask, have you ever tried, or would you try one of the competitors like Kamado Joe or Primo?
First grill that I bought um, after that bullet smoker was a Kamado Joe. Found a Kamado Joe used online, and I was
Okay,
cooking with that. And then I found a really good deal. I always wanted a big green egg. I've always heard of them,
yeah.
and it's the Ferrari of the. It's the backyard master. So I just kind of always wanted one, and I got the Kamado Joe, and then I found a really good deal on a used big green egg, so I bought that. And I'm not sure why. I just wound up using my egg more than the Kamado Joe, and I just seemed to be drawn to that one more, and I cooked on it more and cooked on it more, and then all of a sudden I realized I wasn't using the red one anymore, and then Big Green Egg reached out, and that was kind of the deciding factor right there, But I mean, my passion's really always been with the green one, really, and I'm not here to knock any other grill or
Yeah.
anything like that. That's for sure. I've owned one and enjoyed it. So.
No,
I have a lot of friends
that's
that cook on
fair.
them. I have,
Yeah.
I do have a lot of friends that cook on competitor grills, Primos. A lot of my friends use a Primo, and they've come around. There's some newer ones entering the market, the BSTRD they call it now. And it's listen, you know what? Get what you can. I mean, get what you can afford. Get what's available to you. You know what I mean? And am I going to tell you get bigger? And yeah, I love the things. I truly love them. Doesn't mean everybody has to, but I think you should.
All right. All right. There
That's not endorsed. That's not a paid endorsement or anything, by
yeah.
the way. That's
No,
just that's just my personal passion.
that's coming from Ron's heart, you guys.
Exactly.
Yeah. All
Exactly.
right. Now, okay, do you have a cook that didn't go as planned but taught you something valuable?
Like 700 of them.
Right.
Yeah. 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 Um, I would say that one of them was kind of something that we talked about was cooking something for the very first time on a holiday. I forget what it was that we made. It wasn't. It might have been. I think it might have been tenderloin. I think it was a beef tenderloin. Nice simple cook. This is kind of really when I really first started out, and I wasn't necessarily paying super attention to it. And the thing just got torched. It just
Mm,
got torched, man. It was it
yeah.
was just a crappy holiday, and I think that part of the reason I lost track of the time is we might have been hanging out with our friend Captain Morgan at the time, and I'm not sure. It was a mess. It was not our best holiday ever. The food was just so bad. So yeah, pay attention when you're cooking. That's my big thing is I have to remember just because it's going to take 2 hours doesn't mean it's going to take 2 hours. Sometimes it's going to take an hour and a half. So pay
Absolutely.
attention to your cooks. I guess would probably be the biggest one there. Yeah.
Fat side up or fat side down?
Well, that all depends.
Right.
Are we talking about pork butt or are we talking about brisket? And what are we cooking on? Okay. Pork butts, I'm always doing fat cap up. I'm always doing fat
Yeah.
side up on my pork butts. But a brisket, now on a Kamado, like a green egg, okay, your heat source is coming directly from below. And you got your convector in there, which is your deflector plate. Okay. And then the brisket sits about 6 or 8 inches above that. But that plate gets really hot as well. So when a Kamado, you want to flip it over and cook it fat side down. The old story of, well, I cook it fat cap up because as a meat, as the fat renders, it goes through. It doesn't go through the meat. That's been proven scientifically to not be true. It might come down around, but what you're doing too then is you're taking your seasoning off of there too. Now, have I cooked them in fat side up and had great briskets? Absolutely. Listen, a million competition cooks can't be wrong. But like on a Kamado, definitely fat side down, and because you're protecting that bottom layer. When I've cooked them fat side up, great brisket, but that whole bottom section is just charred. I mean, it just winds up sticking to the grates. You can't even get off. So, yeah, so definitely fat side down on a Kamado. Otherwise, I probably go fat side up most of the rest of the time.
All right. All right,
Yeah.
guys, we're
How about
talking.
you?
With me? Um, yeah, it depends on what I'm cooking, what I'm cooking on.
Yeah,
But most of the time I do my briskets on an offset smoker. So I do mostly do them fat
fat side up.
side up.
Yep.
Um, I think the last time I tried, fat side down, I was cooking on my drum smoker.
Hmm.
And I was actually doing like I was trying also to do a hot and fast
Sure.
cook as well. So I was thinking I would do fat side down for that.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
How'd that work out?
it worked out
That wor-
pretty good.
yeah.
But I think, I'm just kind of get stuck in my way. So like I said, I always gravitate towards, my offset because I mean, I still like cooking on my offset more than anything else. And if
Hmm.
of course, I need to have the time. So if I have the time, I'm going to do it on my offset. And
Sure.
I intentionally do something that's going to take a super long time. So I love doing brisket low and slow,
Yeah.
on my offset.
When you're saying low, it's like 225 ish.
No, for me, well, especially if I'm doing the offset, I'm pretty much comfortable if it's between 225 and 275 actually.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think it probably averages out to be usually around 245, 250,
yeah,
somewhere in there.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm not like obsessing on my offset about trying to keep it at, 225,
Sure. Well, it's a little more
going
difficult to
nuts.
keep that at a super steady temperature too, though. Yeah, but yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm the same. Like 250 for a brisket. That's where I'm cooking my briskets at
Yeah.
most of the time. Is 250. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that
Hmm.
works out
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
All right, guys. Yeah, we are talking with Captain Ron again. Check out his new YouTube channel, Captain Ron Cooks.
I'm gonna
Also,
be actually. I'm actually gonna be
oh,
changing all my socials to that. They're all gonna go to Captain Ron Cooks here in the very near future.
okay, okay, all
Yeah,
right. So,
I've changed it on Facebook already, but I want to keep I want to try and get it all. My handle on Instagram is CPTNRON302. It's like when I meet somebody and they're like, "Oh, what's your Instagram?" I'm like, "Let me
yeah,
write it down for you." You know, you never. But now I can just say, "Oh, it's Captain Ron Cooks." That might be a little bit more memorable. So
absolutely, absolutely. So, if you guys haven't already, please take a moment, like this video as well.
yeah.
Hopefully, maybe you told a friend about it or tell a friend about the channel. Also, let me take a moment to just talk about the barbecue community that I run. It is free to join. If I can find that. There we go. Oh, get Ron in here too. Wait a minute. This is live, guys. There we go. All right. The Backyard SmokeMaster Society. Think of it as, those barbecue groups that you might find over on Facebook, except we are not on Facebook. So we don't have all those distractions and, other things that kind of take your attention away. This is really for people who love barbecue, love talking about barbecue, sharing recipes, ideas, experiences, supporting each other. Um, don't go through this barbecue journey alone. Come on over. You see the QR code. Go to backyardsmokemaster.com/society and you can get into our community. We'd love to have you. And Ron, if you don't mind, I'll send you an invitation. We'd love to have you become a
I'm
part of our community as well.
So, do you want to hear something really super funny? As before the thing we were talking for a minute here, I just said I had some last minute company show up that's here to film. Well, my friend Paul from Demcoder Ranch Beef is here and like that, and he was just telling me, "You got to get on this. You got to get on School. It's
Yeah.
SKOOL. You got to get on it." And I just did your QR code and put it, and it's on School. That's kind of funny time. I never heard of it before today. Now twice in the last hour, so that's great. I can't wait to be a part of that. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm not paid to endorse school. Um, our community was on a different platform before, but then I started to become part of some other, communities that were on school and saw how, easy it is. It just works, easy to navigate. Nobody's really getting lost or confused. So we decided to move the society over to school, and yeah, it's been great. So
Excellent.
yeah, so guys at school, if you're listening, watching, holler at me. I'm like
There's your
Ron. I'm
plug.
not afraid to beg either.
That's funny. That
Yeah.
is.
All right. Let me see here. I got a few more questions for you.
Sure.
Um, all right. Most overrated barbecue trend that you've seen come and go.
Oh man, you're gonna get me in trouble here, man. You're gonna get me in trouble.
That's the idea. Get you to say
um,
something that will go
yeah,
viral.
I'm gonna go back to something I mentioned earlier. Is I I dry aged my steak in caramel sauce for 90 days, and then come on, man. I get it. It's fun, but what is it really doing for the barbecue world? Not a whole lot. I mean, it's entertainment. A lot of what we see is turned into entertainment. So I guess I can't really knock it. Listen, again, the guys that are doing it are very successful, but I don't think that's doing anything for the actual barbecue world. You know, one of the really cool things, and I'm not sure if this is really where you're going with this, but one of the cool things is that I get to go to the Texas Open Fire meetup that's put on by Al Fragoni.
Mm,
And last year he had a panel there of Tuffy Stone,
yeah.
Jess Pryles, I think Mark Lambert was part of it, and
Okay.
Dustin Green from Weber. And it was kind of neat when Tuffy Stone got up there and he said, he goes, all you influencers, he goes, all you guys wanted to know all us barbecue champions, you wanted to know all us barbecue champions. He goes, now it's more important for us to stay relevant, for us to be around with you guys now. We need to come out to your events and hang out with you guys. Like, I thought that was really pretty cool, you know. I thought that was pretty neat. But yeah, I don't know. You know, the trends come and go. The trends come and go, and it just always seems to go back to the roots of barbecue is really, really what shines through the most, you know. So,
Right. Back to the big green egg. Do you have any tips for using it in very cold weather? Is that an issue on the green egg? Because I know it's very well insulated.
yeah, I would say that the best tips I have is dress warm.
Yeah, protect yourself. There you go.
No, they like you just said, they are very well insulated. They're 3/4 inch ceramic, so they hold their heat very well. You may have to adjust your vent settings just a little bit more in the winter because if you're dealing with 20-degree weather out there, the ceramics are going to be colder naturally. And it takes a little bit more to keep them going. So you may have to open your vents a little bit more. But other than that, there shouldn't be too much difference between cooking in warm weather and cold weather. If it's real windy, try and turn your vent so your bottom vent away so that the wind is not blowing directly into it. There's little things like that. But other than that, I don't know that there's a. The one thing I would say is if you're in a real cold area, is that when you close your vent, when you're done cooking and you're closing your egg down before your next use, when you close it down, put a piece of aluminum foil between the dome and the base. Otherwise, what happens is that gasket tends to freeze to itself, and you can't get the thing open. So you
Hmm.
see people out there with putty knives and butter knives trying to get it open. Put just a little aluminum foil on top of that gasket on the bottom, and then close it. You'll thank me later for that one. I live in Florida. I don't deal with this very much, okay? But I have cooked in cold weather and I've been around. But yeah, I think that those are the two things I would say are probably the most important.
All right, that's a great insider tip. Love it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, getting back to your channel, do you have
Yes.
any videos or series that you have coming up that people should watch out for?
Well, it's holiday time, so
Yeah.
tomorrow we are filming a beautiful. It's called a Gatling gun ribeye. Is that what we're calling it, a Gatling gun ribeye? Yes. So we take a whole ribeye and we put marrow bones around the whole thing. It's outside. We put marrow bones around the whole thing, and then we roast it like that. So we got these half-cut marrow bones like this. All right. What's that? Yeah, it's called canoe style here. So we take these, tie it to the outside. What happens is all this marrow, as the thing is cooking, kind of melts down and actually winds up seasoning the meat, makes it a little more tender, and gives it just a lot more flavor. Then afterwards, we take this out, scoop it out, put it onto a cracker, or we're going to mix it into some horseradish cream sauce tomorrow. So that's going to be a really special one. So I'd say for the holidays, I'm going to probably do a couple prime rib videos that we're starting tomorrow, and I'll be releasing them as soon as possible.
Excellent, excellent.
Mhm.
All right, now there's somebody off camera that you're talking to. Who is that guy?
Sorry, that's my friend Paul. His name is Paul Stanley. He's here from Demcoda Ranch Beef. He's here. He brought me this beautiful ribeye roll, and he's going to show me how to do that Gatling gun. That's kind of his specialty. So he drove over from Tampa, about 4-hour drive, 4.5-hour drive, and got here just before the show started. So I was like, I'm trying to get on there right now,
Oh,
So,
that's
but
awesome.
yeah.
So
So yeah, it's great.
what's the name of the website? Let's plug it.
It's Demcoda Ranch
Demcoda.
Beef.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't really have a direct to retail right now, but they do a lot in the industry. They're very well known. He teaches a lot of classes up at Big Green Egg and everything like that. So it's become my absolute go-to beef. And so one of the things you were asking before about, build your relationships in this world. You know what I mean? Pick your people and build your relationships. And I used to tend to kind of be all over the place, but when you find something that you like, stick with it. It's important. It pays off in the end for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, all right,
And
Ron.
again,
Oh,
he just to go back to the barbecue community for a
yeah,
minute, like he doesn't make anything coming to film YouTube videos. I mean, it costs him money to bring a ribeye here. You know what I mean? And like I said, they don't even have a direct to retail, but he loves to help the community. You know what I mean? He drove over here on his own dime to come make a video with me for my channel, bringing beef so that we can teach other people how to have a better
yeah,
holiday. I mean, that's pretty damn cool, isn't it? I mean, that's just
absolutely.
it's it's giving selflessly, and I love this barbecue community for that.
Well, and that's something else I've said often about, the people that I have met and come into contact with who barbecue is their lifestyle. I have always found that these people are always, salt of the earth, just genuine, good, nice people,
Absolutely.
is what I
Yeah.
find, the folks who are entrenched, in the barbecue community. So that's one of the things that I love about it. So that's like what you're describing is like another testimonial to
Yep.
that point. Yeah,
Yep. And the barbecue world is filled with people like that. It's like you said, salt of the earth people. I love it.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, I know you're back on the east coast there, so I know it's after 10 o'clock. So I don't want to hold you
Yes,
too
sir.
long. Before we get out
All
of
right.
here, is there anything else that you want to promote or let anybody know about with regard to what you're doing?
No, just I'd love if you join me on Instagram and on YouTube and anywhere else. Again, it's CPTNRON 302, like Captain CPTN Ron 302. And the rest is all Captain Ron Cooks. But if I try to be very accessible. I'm on Facebook. I'm under my own name, Ron Dinfelmeyer, under Captain Ron. Reach out if you have a question. Reach out. I genuinely love the interaction. I love to, if I can help somebody answer one question and maybe make their cook just that much easier and that much better. I'm all for it. So people are always like, oh, I don't want to bother you. You know what? I try and answer literally every single question I ever have. So if you have something, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to share the thimbleful of knowledge that I've gained in this world. So that's my one thing I can say is the other one I have coming up is a big one is the Visit Lauderdale Food and Wine Festival, Fort Lauderdale Food and Wine. We're going to be cooking on the big green eggs at the barbecue on the beach event, and I'll be cooking a demo on stage. Now this just blows me away. Okay, I'm a backyard barbecue guy. I'm sharing the stage with four of the big Food Network chefs. I mean, what? Like
Yeah.
what bizarro world am I living in here? So but that's the only things really I have to promote right now that I'd really like to talk about. So thank you for letting me do that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Excuse
Uh,
me.
love my little sound effects. All right, there he is, guys. That is Captain Ron. You see it down scrolling at the bottom of the screen. YouTube.com at CPTNRON302. That is also his social media handle.
Yeah.
So look for him on the different platforms, including Instagram, and
Mhm.
level up your game. He's another guy that's good to get in contact with that will help you make better barbecue. Again, I do appreciate you, Ron, for coming onto the podcast. I hope it's not your last appearance. Hope to keep that connection going.
Absolutely, I'd love that. I would love it. Thank you. And again, thank you. I appreciate you having me on. Like I said, anytime I'm asked to do something like this, it's just it's humbling to me. It's an honor. So I appreciate you very much. You're a good man in this world and in our barbecue world, and to be asked to be on your show is really something special for me. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, guys, our next show. I wish I had all my scenes together. There we go. Gotta keep Ron in the frame. All right, our next show, we will be back with another live podcast on next Wednesday, December 17th, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. As always, I thank you all for tuning in to the Backyard SmokeMaster BBQ podcast, especially you folks that were able to watch us live. But if you weren't able to watch live or you missed part of the show, You can always catch the replay up on YouTube, and then the audio version of the podcast will be up on all of your favorite podcast playing platforms. So for Captain Ron, this is Kenyatta Robinson. Thanks again, and we will see you very soon. Dang it, there's another one. It's not right. Here we go. Let's keep Ron. Okay. I should have had this prepared earlier. But anyway, that's the fun of live, watching me fix stuff on the fly. All right, let me get out of here before I mess something else up. Thanks again, Ron. We'll see you soon. And thanks again to all of you. Come back and join us next week. Thank you.
Thanks very much.